Hello, everybody. So I am so excited because today we have a beautiful musician with us. Her name is Jennifer Midkiff, and I've known her for years and years and years. She plays the most beautiful Celtic harp in the whole world. I have hired her for Celtic festivals over and over again, and we get to talk to her today. And I am so excited because we get to not only talk to her, but we get to feature her music and get to know her so much more. Hi, Jen. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Rebecca.
That's awesome. I'm so excited to have you. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you became a harpist.
I really kind of stumbled into it. I grew up playing piano, singing. I was in Indianapolis Children's Choir as a founding member, which
Oh, wow.
that was a long time ago. But it's the reason I always mention it is that it is really why I chose to go into music as a career.
Wow.
The training I received there in singing and sight reading and all of the rest of it really, I had always wanted to be a teacher, but after this, I knew I wanted to teach music. So,
That's awesome.
so I went off to college I went to Luther College for music education, got my teaching certification. But while I was
Nice.
there, I was like, I've always wanted to play in the orchestra, but you can't really do that and choir in the school district I came up through. You kind of had to specialize. So I thought, well, I'll try the bass. That shouldn't be too bad. Well, it turns out that the full-size upright bass puts your arm high enough above your head that you have no circulation to your hand if you have really low blood pressure, like I did.
Oh,
And so
that's
that
crazy.
lasted a semester, and I didn't get far enough to even think about orchestra. And then a friend of mine said she had watched the children for a family that had a harp, and it was a big harp like the one back here.
Oh,
And
nice.
and she said, "Oh, you'd love it. It's just like piano." And I thought, well, maybe if it has something in common with piano, it won't quite be like starting from ground zero. And maybe someday I could play, maybe I could pick up enough to play something in the college orchestra. So I
Right.
started lessons. It was one of those things where my mom was like, well, all right, I've heard this before, because I was kind of an on again, off again piano student. And she said, I'll give you a year. If you practice it like you practiced piano, it'll be your only year. And instead, I fell in love with playing the harp.
Oh,
If I
that's
had,
awesome.
oh yeah, if I had 10 minutes between classes, I spent 5 of them in the practice room. That's how much I loved it. Just to be there and
That's
make
amazing.
sounds with it. Just instantly, there was this connection. So it helped me fight through all the frustrations of, what do you mean my hands are like this now and it's awkward, and but I love the sound.
This to this.
Mm-hmm. So your right hand is backwards and you don't use your pinkies, and it's just kind of
Oh my gosh.
different. And but I loved it. And the funny thing is, it's kind of ironic, I started so that I could play in the orchestra, and then it turned out that I really hate orchestra harp parts.
Oh, well, there you go.
You never have the melody. You sit there
Aw.
forever and don't play, and then all of a sudden you play something, and it's not really, most of the time it's not something that was really written for you. They tell composers, pretend it's a piano. Well, it's not a piano. And so they'll constantly ask you to do things that don't really suit the instrument very well.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of overlap, but it's not all overlap. And so there are harpists who make a whole second sideline of income out of rewriting orchestra harp parts to actually work for the harp.
Oh, that's funny.
So after all that, I did get a chance to do it, and I've done a little bit here and there, but mostly I really prefer playing solo. Playing in small groups. I have 2 bands that I play with. And
Yeah. What are those bands? Tell us a little bit about the bands and your solo stuff that you're doing.
Okay, well, the band I've been in the longest is a band called Wild Mercy. And I've been in this band 18 years now. And we're not super active, which is why we're still together after 18 years. Kids came along.
We only play
job
here.
changes, whatever.
Right?
But what holds us together is our friendship and our mutual love of music. We love lots of different kinds of music. So when you put us together on a stage, you'll hear some jazz guitar, and you'll hear some Celtic harp, and you'll hear some African drumming, and you'll hear a lot of really close harmonies. And we go all over the map, from Celtic stuff to jazz to folk rock. And so when people ask us our sound, our short phrase is eclectic Celtic, because that's pretty much it. We have 3 CDs, but we haven't done one in a while. And we keep talking about doing one. And then, you know, the last time we started talking about it, a global pandemic hit. So,
well, you know,
talk about it again when things are a little better.
Yeah. What have you been doing since the pandemic has started?
Well, I also have my master's in choral conducting, and from Butler, actually, right here in Indy.
Yay, Butler.
Yay, Butler. And so I have been juggling as a career. I've been juggling school teaching and church music directing. And so when the pandemic hit, our church went virtual for several months, and the school shut down and decided it was too hard to offer music classes. It's a small private school. So I did 3 virtual choir pieces with the school. And so I spent a lot of time creating digital resources, pushing them out to the kids, nagging the kids, taking what they had sent me, which very often they hadn't listened to any of my instructions on, and pull it all together and make 3 choir pieces at the end of the year. So at least we had something. And they were all songs we'd been working on before the shutdown. So I was like, well, I hate to see all that work wasted. So let's just finish this. So I had to learn how to record, both for school and for church. I had to basically become the one-woman recording studio. And
I'm learning that now. Believe me, it's fun. But it's complicated.
I know. I always joke that I learned my tech on a need-to-know basis. So I suddenly needed to know.
You're like, what do I do? What do I do?
I'm suddenly haunting all these forums on online teaching and you know, most of the recording stuff, honestly, the technical side of it still really goes over my head. So what I found works for me is the simplest possible interface, and then it's on me to do my best possible job, because editing is not my strong suit. So how about I just make something good enough that I don't need to edit it?
Yeah, that's always nice.
Yeah, that works better for me. Just practice more, Jen. That's the answer. Just
practice more. Right. Well, we have about 3 more minutes in this session. I want you to tell us about this next song that's going to be coming up. We're actually going to be listening to Waterfall right after we are done talking to you in this moment. And I want you to tell us a little bit about Waterfall. I would love to hear about that.
Sure. I periodically make stabs at composing. I am more of an arranger than a composer. But every once in a while I go, you know, this is kind of fun. I just noodle around a little bit. And then I'm like, 5 minutes later, I go, what was that? You know, if I don't write it down or record it, I won't remember even 10 minutes later. It's not great working memory. So I had a couple of things that I had notated, just short riffs years ago. I mean, I'm talking probably pre-kids. And I ran across this notebook again, and I looked at them and I was like, what did that sound like again? I played through them a little bit, and I realized that these 2 things that I'd seen as 2 separate things actually fit together.
Oh, nice. That's really awesome.
And I went, hey, I can make a song out of this. And the more I did it, the more I worked with it and pulled those 2 segments, those 2 ideas together.
Yeah.
You know, I really liked how they flowed. And so I went back and forth a little bit. And when I got it all done, I still didn't have a name. I'm really not good at naming instrumental things. So I asked my oldest kid, because she's better at it than I am. And I said, let me play this for you and tell me what it makes you think of. And so she named it Waterfall.
Nice.
That's what that made her think of. When I play it for people, my joke is that this is the song Jim Brickman would write as a harp solo if Jim Brickman played the harp. That's kind of what it feels like to me.
That's awesome.
You know, you can tell when I'm being influenced by Lorena McKennett, and you can tell when I'm being influenced by Jim Brickman or David Lance or, you know, new age piano guy. So this is kind of my new age piano harp solo. But I like it a lot, and I've adapted it for my small lap harp too, and played it at school, and it's actually really soothing to kids. I thought it was interesting the first time I played it for a group of squirrely first graders, and they just calmed right down.
That's nice. We should all have something like that to be able to be like, okay, you to calm down. Well, after the songs, we'll have to get you to show us your harps and the difference between the two.
Sure.
But right now, we're going to go to some music and have a great time with that. Hello, everybody. Okay, so this is really awesome. We're back with Jen, and I'm so excited because now we talked about, what your musical background is. Now we get to actually look at your instruments, which is kind of my favorite part because we have so many instruments in our house. I tell Samuel that if he wants another guitar, he's going to have to get rid of one of the ones he has. And he's like, but they all have their specific use. So I understand, like, our house is overrun with instruments. So I would love to see, because I'm also a culprit. I bring things home and I'm like, look what I found. It's kind of
Gear acquisition
ridiculous.
syndrome is a real thing.
It really, really is. So I would love to see your instruments and tell us all about the different. I know you have two different harps behind you.
Mhm.
I would love to hear the differences and like what makes them different, what you would use them for when it comes to the differences in the harps. Would love to hear
Excellent.
that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start with the one right next to me here. This is a Celtic harp. It has 34 strings, which is just shy of 5 octaves. So as
Wow.
compact as this is, it is most of the usable range of the piano. It's there's another octave down there and there's another octave way up high, but this is what you use day in, day out. This is the bread and butter range.
Right.
So it has, in the way of Irish harps, it has levers up here at the top. And these levers function like a capo one on a guitar, but for each individual string.
Nice.
So here's, for example, my red strings, which, there we go. My red string is a C. If I raise the lever, it's now a C sharp.
Nice.
Yeah. So the upshot of this is I can set my harp in a key signature. Now I want to be in the key of D. This song's in the key of D. So I'll put all my C sharps and F sharps up and off I go. And I can't play anything that's not in the key of D. So this is one of the places where I feel like the harp has an advantage over the piano, because when I was first trying to improvise on my own, one of the things that would happen is if I tried to improvise in anything other than the key of C, sooner or later I would forget one of the black keys.
Of course.
Or add one that wasn't supposed to be there. And it was very frustrating. But on the harp, you literally can't go wrong. You set up your key signature in the levers and go. So that really had a huge impact on my confidence level for improvisation. It helps to have those kind of boundaries and safeguards, because then you know that anything you create is going to sound okay. You can't play something that's just wrong for the key signature. Nice. And so it gives you a little boost and makes some of that writing a little easier. So I like it a lot. This is the one you heard for Waterfall. It's got a nice bright tone and a reasonable bass, which I really like. So I like its low bass notes too. When you're looking for a Celtic harp, you want to make sure that it has the sound you want in every part of its range. I have sold harps before that the longer I went with them, sat with them, they're kind of up here. They could get so plinky that you heard more attack than tone, that kind of thing. And I like how I sound when I sing with it, which is the other reason I sold the last harp that I sold. It sounded lovely on its own, but I didn't like how I sounded when I sang with it.
Right.
So, yeah. Finding the instrument that supports your voice.
Absolutely. Then you have the big monster behind you.
I do. So that's going to take a second here. All right. So let me clear the way here.
Bring the monster front.
Yeah. Can you still hear me okay as I'm moving it? Because I can just keep.
I can.
Okay.
I can.
Okay. All right. So this is a 44-string pedal harp.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And it's actually fairly lightweight. for its
That's
size, which
amazing.
is kind of like, for its size. It's still over
It's still a
65
monster.
pounds.
Good Lord.
So it was 65 pounds before the electronics. So this is made by a French company called Camac, and I love what they do. They went back to the drawing board of the original 1800 pedal harp developed by Jacques Erard. They went back to that and said, but we have 21st century engineering techniques now. So, for example, the column, this big piece over here, is actually made of fiberglass.
Wow, that's nice.
You would never know, but it takes the weight down
No.
and it's much more stable. So the harp itself stays in tune better. Pedal harps are kind of cranky and they're kind of infamous for it. The old joke goes that you'll spend half your time tuning and the other half playing out of tune. But thanks to Camac, this is a shameless plug for these guys. I don't have to spend a whole lot of time tuning and it holds its tune really well. But the other difference is, we'll see how we do this here. So above the top of the strings, the big mechanical difference between a pedal harp and a lever harp is the pedals. And I'll show you the pedals in a minute. They're down here and they're worked by my feet. There are 7 of them, 3 on the left side, 4 on the right. So the left is B, C, D pedals and the right is E, F, G, A. And each one controls all of the strings that have that note name. So all of my C strings will be controlled by the C pedal. So here, I'm going to show you right here. I don't know if we can get close enough.
I can see that.
Okay, so there are 2 sets. There are 2 discs here, and this right here is the nut. This is the tuning peg string vibrates right now from here all the way down to the soundboard.
Very nice.
That is the C flat. So I'm going to press the pedal into its first. So it's sitting in its loosest position. This is the lowest pitch I can make. I'm going to tighten it by 1, and this first set of prongs is going to turn, and now the string can only vibrate from here down. So I've just shortened its length.
Oh, nice.
And now I have C natural. If I press again, there's one more spot I can put it in, and now I have a sharp. So this lets me have 3 different notes for each string on the harp, and it lets you change keys very quickly. That's really what it was developed for. The orchestra conductors, the serious composers rather, wanted the sound of the harp, but they needed it to be able to keep up with the accidentals and key changes that were common at the time.
Right, exactly. So we have about 2 more minutes left, and we're going to be listening to My Lady Carrie's Dump. Tell us about that song and what harp you used on that.
Okay, that was also done with the Celtic harp, and the reason is this is a piece that dates back to the late Renaissance.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, My Lady Carrie. I started a master's in music history before switching over to choral conducting. I sort of had the moment of, what am I getting this for? And I realized I was interested in the history for the sake of the performance, so that I could perform things more accurately. When I realized that, I realized a master's in music history was not what I wanted. So I took all that knowledge and applied it to choral conducting. And anyway, My Lady Carrie's Dump is started as a lute tune, but was adapted for the harp. And in fact, the historical manuscript of it looks almost exactly like the arrangement I found in a book. Just one step.
We might have to steal that one. I'm just going to say, for the Wait Lady.
It's pretty fun, and it is pretty fun. So that's one of the first times I ventured into recording at home. I recorded that right in this room.
Nice.
Yep. My kids were at school. I only had 1 dog at the time. It was a little easier for things to be quiet.
Right.
And
pandemic was not here, so therefore people were gone.
Right. And so I was able to record 10 tracks for that EP. I called it Harper at the Fair, and it is available on my Bandcamp page, which I think is still on a banner across the bottom of the screen here, along with Waterfall, which was on my album called Collage. And so those are both available on Bandcamp.
Awesome.
But yeah.
let's go ahead and listen to My Lady Carries Dump then. Hello, everybody. We have had such a great show so far, and I am so excited because this is our little bit of our last session to be able to talk to Jen. And it's going to be so great to hear about all the things that you're doing right now. I know you have something called Band Camp. It's the first Fridays, right? I would love to hear about that.
Okay, so while my music is available on Bandcamp anytime, there is a special promotion that Bandcamp has been running for the duration of the pandemic. And that is that on the first Friday of every month, Bandcamp is waiving their fees.
Oh,
so
wow.
If you wait and buy all your music on a first Friday there, all of the funds, other than credit card transaction fees, but Bandcamp doesn't take any licensing or hosting fees on that day.
That's wonderful.
So more of the money goes straight to the artist. It's a wonderful thing that they're doing. I mean, obviously it also funnels more people to the site where you can find all kinds of amazing artists. You can search by genre, you can search by name, but it's totally for musicians who are not big label musicians. It's really, independent music heaven. It really is.
And that's what our whole show is about. Right. So that's great.
Bandcamp was surprisingly easy to use. Like my other friends had their stuff up and I bought some of their stuff. So I have two accounts. I have a user account where I buy all the music of my friends. And then I have an artist account where I am selling my music, which right here is Jennifer Midkiff at bandcamp.com. I have all three of my albums up. So Harper at the Fair and Collage, which is Harper at the Fair is technically my newest one. Collage was 2016. And then the third album that I think you said you're going to play something from was from 2012. And that's called All in Good Time. And we'll get back to that in a minute. But Bandcamp is a great way to do this, especially since, with the pandemic and everything, live performances where I could sell physical CDs
just aren't happening. Yeah, they're just not happening. Here and there, but it's scary, and you're like, okay, stay over there and I'll sing to you.
Right. I played some weddings in 2020. There were still people having their wedding in 2020, and I would go but I would insist, I need to be able to wear a mask.
Oh, yes, exactly.
And they said, oh, you can. And you'll be distanced. And that distance was sometimes more wishful thinking. But I kept my mask on. I wish I could say the same of the guests at the weddings, but so far
we all want to be safe. Yes. Be safe, people. This is the time to be safe. Yeah,
absolutely.
Your music on Bandcamp and go buy her stuff. It's going to be really, really awesome. So I do actually want to hear about your what you have in the future that's coming up. What is in your heart that just may not be out there yet, but it's starting to happen in your heart and in your mind? And what do we see from you in the future?
Well, I'm actually really excited about 2021. So I have joined a songwriting group because I do better. I've discovered if I just sit around and wait for inspiration to strike, do you know when that's going to happen? The 12th of never.
Yeah, never.
I have enough. I have 2 jobs. I have 2 kids. I have pets. There are endless other things I could be doing. But if I'm in a songwriting group and they're like, hey, you need to do a song a month to get to stay in this group. Well, now I'm going to pay attention.
Right.
And they, and they offer like prompts and support and that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Just kind of a personal mission. Also, it's the month of February. And so I'm entering my annual challenge of February album writing month. I never, ever, ever win this challenge. You're supposed to write 14 songs in 28 days.
Oh my gosh.
I've never even come close. I think I did 4 songs and an instrumental tune once.
But as long as Because I can write 14 songs in 28 days, but they might not be good.
Well, and
Like,
good isn't the point. The point is
just to get it out
used
there.
to writing.
Got it.
I'm a big fan of the band. They Might be Giants. And one of the things that they said was we had to learn to not be so precious and refine everything. And so that's why they did their song of the week, or sometimes even song of the day, and dial a song. They did that and they pressured themselves, have a new thing.
What a great idea.
And that's how they honed their songwriting skills, was you have to just do it. You have to create a volume of work. And so I'm hoping, I figure any song I write, because I took up this challenge, is one more than I would have written if I hadn't. And so it doesn't matter to me that, that I don't finish it, that I don't get to 14 songs. But it will encourage me to write something.
Yes.
And hopefully several somethings. And so that'll be fun. But my big project, this is what I'm really excited about. I am embarking on a project that is going to take me 2 years to finish. I am returning to study with the Music for Healing and Transition program, and I'm going to become a certified music practitioner.
Oh, that's amazing.
And what that does is it's not the same thing as a music therapist. A music therapist walks in and works with someone to help them make music. A music practitioner walks into a hospital room or a hospice bedside, meets the patient, kind of assesses where they are, not physically, but also mentally, emotionally. Where are they? And then provides a healing atmosphere of therapeutic music.
Very David-like.
So yes, absolutely. Yes. I often point out that he's one of our earliest examples. And certainly the ancient Greeks also had their theory on different modes and what those were used for. But it's true. And I've used music all my life to help me feel better when I'm angry or sad, or to give me some energy when I'm low energy. And so this is an extension of that, but focused really on how to do that for someone else who needs, what do they need to feel today?
I have a friend who actually does what you're studying to do, and she's just the sweetest person I've ever met in my life, but still, she goes into the rooms and she's just like, I did this and it blessed my heart. And I'm like, she's just such a blessing. And I know the power of music that can come. It can bring in peace, or it can frankly, sometimes it can allow us to scream when we need to, when we just don't have a voice to scream, and to be able to just let things go sometimes. There's a song that I used to listen to when I was going through the downs in my life, and it talks about the healing oil, and I would just lay there with it on repeat and just let that oil, and I could just imagine that oil just flowing all over me. And so I can't wait to see and talk to you about this later. And when you get to get in there and get into the nitty gritty with people, and I can't wait to hear the blessings that happen, because I'm so excited.
I am really excited about it. I had actually started this journey once before, and then I had kids. And so I didn't finish the internship, and it has now been 15 years. And so they're telling me, well, you do have to take the classes all over again, because it's been a while. They've also revamped a lot of the curriculum. So I'm really excited to see the changes. But it's all virtual this year, which makes it a little bit more affordable to do. And my first weekend of it is the last weekend of this month. So I have I have 2 books I have to have read and report on before that starts, and have to be ready with a presentation on healthy posture and playing of the instrument, just because they want to make sure that nobody, goes into this in a way that is unhealthy for them.
Absolutely.
Because you can't heal anybody else. It's, physician, heal thyself. You've got to have yourself centered before you can help someone else.
Well, we have about a minute or 2 left. You've got the last song we're going to hear from you today is called Long Time Comin', and I would love to hear about this song. Tell me about it.
So kind of follows that healing theme. In 2010, I think it was, I damaged my shoulder. I tore the labrum. It's called a slap tear, supralabral, anterior, posterior, blah, blah, blah. We did 6 months of physical therapy. Nothing got better. They finally found the tear originally they thought, oh, you just strained something. No, there was an actual tear. And
Oh my
so
gosh.
I had to undergo surgery to fix it. And I spent a month in a sling, and it was pretty awful. And, you know, all of my healing, I can attribute so much. I mean, my parents helped me, my family helped me, my yoga teacher like reinvented yoga stuff for me so that I could do
That's
one-armed
awesome.
yoga. And then when I could move the left one again, she always wanted to know, now what range of motion are they allowing? What
Yeah.
are you allowed to do? And, you know, tell me when we can lean some weight on that again, all of that. And the physical therapist said, you know, you are textbook perfect healing, and the yoga is definitely part of it. So,
That's awesome.
so I wrote this song kind of out of that journey. And it's not specific to physical healing. I wrote it because of that journey for me, but I offer it up anytime I play it for anyone who is on a healing journey, whether it is physical or emotional or spiritual healing.
I love that.
Keep walking. You'll get there.
I love that. Yeah, I'm very much about healing and wholeness. And so I love that very much so. Well, Jen, I am so excited that I got to talk to you. Thank you so much for
It's great
joining
to
us.
talk to you too.
This has just been, for me, this has been a whirlwind, because this is, for me, this radio show, Facebook Live, whatever, is a 5-year plan that finally came to fruition. So, I can understand your journey. I love to hear the journeys that people go through. So I thank you so much. We're going to listen to this wonderful song, and we're going to say good night and goodbye. Or actually, today it's good day, but when it airs, it'll be at 9 o'clock at night. So we love you and good night, and we adore you. Thank you
Bye.
so much for coming.
You're very welcome.
Celtic